Welcome to God's Girls Women on a Mission. Today we're going to have an interesting topic. Today I feel so blessed. I've got one of my mothers with me. I've got Bishop Hove all the way from Zimbabwe. She's an extremely blessed woman, an amazing woman of God, a powerful woman of God, traveling all around the world. She's been to places ministering to thousands of people. So just sitting by her side, one-on-one, I feel so blessed. It's a privilege and an honor. Bishop Hove has been in ministry for so many years, over almost 30 years now. She leads an international ministry in Zimbabwe. She leads leadership seminars for men, for women, for families, for children, and she does that based in Zimbabwe. It is a privilege and honor to have you on our program, Bishop Hove. Welcome to England and welcome to God's Girls Women on a Mission. Today we want to talk to you about relationships, particularly on mothers and daughters relationships. It seems like we're in that era where many young ladies are not finding the mothers to speak to. They are not, the elder women are not rising up as they used to teach the younger girls, to teach the younger women in different areas of life. So we're seeing so many girls, is the word they use, slacking in few areas of life, whether it's in relationships, dating relationships, father relationships, mother relationships, and it's all down to not having someone holding their hand to walk that path, that they should walk. So today we want to focus on our relationship with mothers and daughters. How important is that relationship in life?
It is thank you very much, Thelma. It is a very important relationship to have a mother in life, because whatever is happening to you happened to them before. And many times we realize that the potholes that I have encountered when I was growing up, the bends, the difficulties that I suffered, I don't want my daughters to suffer them too. I want them to be able to have an upper hand on all those things. So it is important that we identify, if it's not a physical mother, a birth mother, then a spiritual mother. I wrote a book called The Art of Mentoring. It is important for us to be able to pick up a mentor, a person who's going to walk with you through whatever journey that the Lord has given you. Whatever calling that you feel you've been called to do, you need somebody to walk you through, somebody who has been there before. You also see that there's an importance that God actually emphasizes on that. When you look at Exodus chapter 23, verse 20 to 21, he says, there's a place that I've prepared for you. I've sent an angel before you. You must not grieve that angel, because the place is already there. It has already been set. Walk and listen to them. That actually means a lot of things. It can mean that we're not listening to the Holy Spirit as he's supposed to talk to us. And it can also mean that everybody has been given an angel in their life, in the form of a mother who teaches you about marriage, who teaches you about child rearing, who teaches you about how to look after yourself, take care of yourself, who might teach you about how to pray, how to love God, how to walk this journey of Christianity. So we need to realize that God puts an angel in everybody's life. So mothers come as angels. Wow. That they walk with you, they hold your hand, and they say, no, there's a pothole there, don't go that way, go this way. But many times as we grow up and we become adolescents, we think we know better than our mothers.
That's true. Before we go any further, talk to us a little bit about your background. You are a very matured woman. You've seen you've seen life, you've lived life, you've been a girl, you've been a woman, you've been a mother, I believe you're now a grandmother. So give us a bit of your background. Was there a difference between when you were growing up, and do you see any difference between the young girls now?
When I was growing up, for us, everybody who was older than you was auntie or mother. And in the neighborhood, anybody you meet on the way, they could actually rebuke you. They could actually speak into your life. They could actually, tell you not to do what you were doing. Because we're actually growing up with mothers and aunts around us. But when I grew up and started realizing, looking at the girls that were growing up after me, or my children, and maybe my sister's children, I started realizing that culture left. That culture stopped happening. Families became nucleus. Families stopped being extended. There wasn't any extended families anymore, and that presented a problem, because now it was you, your mother, and your family, your brothers and sisters, and even your father. But mothers that were in the streets, your mothers that were next door, the mothers that were culturally related to you, they did not matter anymore. So I think for us, when we were growing up, it was inculcated in us by culture to be able to just know that I can be mentored by anybody. When I go to the shops and I discover something and I want to find out, an auntie who is actually selling there would tell me, no, my daughter, you can't do this, because a woman doesn't do this.
Wow.
Because it was something that was in the culture, but now it's not happening. So I've seen that there's a lot of mistakes that the girls these days are making that we were not allowed to make. There are things that I'm afraid to do even when I visit with a family. I walk into a family and I know I'm not supposed to do this, I'm not supposed to do that, I'm not supposed to speak like that, or eat like this, or do this, because it's something that I was told, not by my mother, but the people in the community. We were more community-based and community-related than we are now. Wow. The families are just so very nucleus, and they're not extended, and nobody is helping another, and nobody cares what the other person's child does. So I think that's where the biggest problem or the biggest difference is. I grew up with a grandmother who anointed me with olive oil every day for 9 years when I was a baby. And when my grandmother died, the families that I lived in, they were aunts and uncles and people like that, and they became my mentors. But of course there was a lot of abuse, there's a lot of things happening, but there was just that cultural conscience that I had that told me I need to listen. And when I look at my life now, I start discovering that there are things that I managed to be able to do because of the people that I lived with, because of the way they took me as a child and mentored me. So it is different now, yes.
Wow.
The girls of today, they are all independent. They watch movies, they watch TV, they listen to the trends of today. Girls are taking their culturing or their understanding of the world and what needs to happen from TV and from things like that. They don't sit with grown-ups to find out what's happening. And sometimes you can also blame the mothers. We have lost that culture. We have stopped forcing or enforcing that particular culture to our own girls.
Wow, that is powerful. Well, we want to talk about almost every single relationship that a girl can possibly have with an elder. And we want to start with the most important one, or should be the most important one, the relationship with the one that birthed you into this world, with your biological mother.
Yes.
How important is that relationship for a young child, a young girl that's growing up?
That is a very important relationship, because there are things that are in your mother's background that can affect you. There are generational things. There are generational cases. There are things that could actually be happening to you that are actually generational. So even if you say, I'm going to find a mentor from outside, and I'm going to go and find someone who can help me from church, I don't care about my mother, there might be some things that that woman will not know about you, that your mother will be able to say, oh, that used to happen to me. That happened to my mother as well. Let me help you. This is how we dealt with it. So it is important to have the basis, the background, the generational, understanding and help from your own physical mother. There are children, of course, that will tell us that, I was adopted, or I didn't come from my mother-child relationship. I grew up with my father because my mother died, and all that. There are people like that. Those are exceptional cases. But whoever it is that is there as a mother in the home is the person that you need to be very close to. Take a mother as a friend, so that you can be able to open up and speak.
But how does that start? Because I meet a lot of young ladies and they say, I've never been able to speak to my mother. She never talked to me. She never sat me down. Whose responsibility is it for that friendship to be instilled and,
I think it takes two. The problem is the girls want the mothers to have the burden, all of it, to initiate. It is because we are growing up and the mother should continue to bring a relationship close all the time, because you're still a baby, you're growing, and they must show you that they are ready to listen. But there are mothers who grew up without mothers. For example, if your mother probably didn't grow up with their mother, they grew up in a certain setup, they do not know how to relate with their daughter. So it is, when you watch that and you observe and say, okay, so my mother is struggling, the onus is on you as the daughter. Maybe you're 12, you're 15, you just say, you know what, let me try and talk to my mother. Let me ask my mom, I want to talk to you. I've got these issues that I do not understand. I've got a menstrual cycle. I've got a guy who is asking me out. What do I do? And if the mother keeps saying to you, don't talk to me about that, I don't want to know that and all that, then you engage somebody, maybe a pastor or somebody who's close to you, an auntie, your mother's sister or someone, say, I really want to talk to my mother. Please, can you speak to her so that she speaks to me? Because I'm struggling to deal with A, B, C, D. I'm hearing a lot of stories and different things from my friends. There's peer pressure. My friends are telling me all sorts of things, but I don't want to hear from my friends. I want to hear from my mom. So talk to my mom. So you'll have an outlet from your aunt, you'll have an outlet from a pastor's wife, or somebody who can help you. And then your mother must be able to understand that you are reaching out. You need to. But many girls that I meet say, you know what, I just forgot about it. I left her alone because he didn't care and all that. And there's this bitterness that goes on. The girl then goes to the father and becomes closer to the father. But the father cannot tell you some of the things that your mother is able to tell you.
That's true. That is powerful. You said something powerful right there, that, you know what, as a girl, there are some things that only a mother can tell you. And if your mother doesn't tell you, you are likely just to be, like you said, don't care, or just have life all about. But another important factor is when you see a girl doing anyhow on the streets, most people are prone to say, I blame the mother, because it's the mother's fault. The mother should have told her, you don't wear that on the street. You don't speak to people like that. You don't do that. How I don't want to use the word unfair, but it is unfair on mothers that there are mothers that try to teach their children, the ways of the Lord, for example. But the girls somehow end up going a different way. How can you help mothers like that? Why should they get the blame when they've actually taken time to teach their children? But
let me say something else that is very important. Just throwing a little bit of spanners in the works. The value of a child comes from the father. The mother kept the child in the womb for 9 months, and there's a familiarity that happens. And because of that, whatever the mother says in the mother's voice, it's too familiar to the child to worry them that they want change or to do anything. So the mother will speak, will give them language, will do all sorts of things, but it does not, it's too familiar. Familiarity breeds. And you will see that a child, when their values come from the dad, they change.
Wow.
Most girls who are struggling is because of their fathers, not their mothers.
Wow.
Most girls will go wayward because of their fathers, not their mothers. Because if the father does not say stop, a girl will always listen to her father. A child will always listen to the father because that's an unfamiliar voice. The voice of a mother, this child was carried in the womb, and every time the mother was speaking, that voice became familiar. The first person who kisses, holds, bathes you naked, even if you're a boy or a girl, it's your mother. The first person who breastfeeds you, who everything, it's your mother. And even if you're a boy or a girl. So that familiarity breeds. A child will just say, that's mom. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
But when dad says no, then a child will know it's no. So if you see wayward children, I would rather blame the father than the mother. Because there's no mother who will go out there and push their girl to prostitution. There are very rare cases of poverty that will make a mother do that.
Yeah.
But you will see that mothers will want to be proud of their daughters. But fathers, if they are not there, if they are not at home, if they are not speaking and spending time with their daughters and their sons, you see that the value at home is loose and there's no more values at home. Right. So let's one day talk about the importance of the father in the home, because that is what brings value, not the mother.
Father's Day is coming. Watch out for that. Just around the corner. So, just to seal that topic on biological mothers and daughters, someone out there might be thinking, you know what, I've tried with my daughter, you know, ever since she was born, I've tried, but somehow she just doesn't seem to get on with me. You know, we can't talk, we can't relate. We are just too opposite, you know, or maybe we are the same, we're both arrogant, we're both big-headed, we're both stubborn. How can we get along? You know, for that kind of, you know, mother and daughter in that kind of situation, what advice would you have for them to even start talking?
Let me first advise the mother, because she's the one who's seeing the problem. We can't even talk to the girl, because the girl probably might not even see the problem, because she's okay, she's got her friends, and maybe she's got her mentor from somewhere, and she's happy with that. Let me first talk to the mother and encourage the mother to say it is important for the mother to find someone, her own sister, her own pastor's wife, somebody who can be able to speak to her daughter for her. Because it is important that that girl is helped and must be helped with the understanding that the mother has. So if she finds that person, she then tells them, these are the issues that I'm concerned about. If you can ask my daughter, this is what I want to talk to her about. I know right now she does not see eye to eye with me. She doesn't understand what I'm talking about. But these are the issues that I want to educate her on and help her. If she's willing, talk to her. And then if she's willing to come to me, I'll talk to her and find somebody, a neutral person. Girls sometimes will listen to neutral people, especially if you see the liking or what they, a person that they like or listen to. Then go to that person and speak to them. They'll hear them.
Oh, wow, that's true. And finally, you grew up in Zimbabwe, you know, with this African culture. Tell us about this whole thing about, you know, be careful what you say to your mother. Not what you say, but about upsetting your mother because you don't want her to say anything bad against you. Because once she curses you, that's it. You know, the power of mother's words. Is it true? Is it not? Does it apply to us Christians? Does it not? You know, how does that work?
The scripture that I want to quote is honor thy mother and father so that your days will be many. That's the one scripture I can just talk about. Honoring. And honoring means honoring in the Lord. There are things that your parents will force you to do that are not godly. And the Bible says a curse that does not have a cause will not alight. Which means if it's not biblical and it's not godly and you're forced to do things that you do not want to do, then that will not alight. But what I want to say is, a mother's heart is very fragile. You just need to be very careful how you interact with her, and just be careful how you hurt her. Because when a mother is hurt, even your blessings do not flow. That's why the Bible is saying honor, so that your days will be many. So I think it's not about the number of days, it's about the abundance of your life. So when she's crying every day, and she's crying every day, I feel that there's a certain connection that a mother has with a child. So the moment they are grieved and they are in pain and they are always say, God, why is my daughter doing this? God listens to mothers' hearts because they gave birth to you. So let's just be careful how we deal with our mothers. But if it's not godly and they are forcing you to do the things that are not of God, then that case will not alight. Why? Because it's not of God.
Wow, that's powerful. I hope you've got a book on that. Curses and blessings. Praise God for that. Now let's talk about spiritual mothers and daughters. I know that every church obviously has the pastor and the pastor's wife, and the pastor's wife automatically comes the mother of the church. And obviously she's the mother of everyone. And it is right that everyone honors her as that, you know, with the position God has given her. How are we to relate to our spiritual mothers as, you know, daughters?
The spiritual mothers are also equally important because they are guiding you in the spiritual matters. And it's said to say that there are some pastors' wives who are not capable of mentoring and taking care of the children of the church. But I blame it on training. I blame it on people who see that young girl who is 23 or 28 getting married to a pastor and just leave her like that. If she had been mentored by other senior mothers, then it would be easier for her to mentor someone.
Yeah.
If you have not been mentored before, it's very difficult for you to mentor someone else.
That's true.
So we need to be very careful and start from the pastor's wife, that she be mentored. And then we realize she's worked with another woman of God, then she can be able to walk with these girls. It is important that we honor them. But there is also an issue of manipulation. I think let's be careful not to manipulate people with the fear that I am the woman of God, I am the mother of the house, you must listen to me and do everything that I tell you to do, because that's manipulation.
Yeah.
When I was ordained, the person who was ordaining me and giving me a collar stopped and looked at my eyes, and I looked at him and he said, Patience, I'm ordaining you. This collar is not a manipulative tool. You don't manipulate people with this. This is service. You must serve.
Wow.
So if that spirit is there of serving, it is important that we do honor them and be able to speak to them and share with them and be able to find guidance from them, because they are spiritually positioned to mother us. So it is important that we do honor them.
Wow. On that note, I've had a few conversations with people that they can't get on with their pastors' wives, so they don't call them spiritual mothers. They call someone else that they look up to, or let's say their mentor ends up being their spiritual mother, because they can't relate to their pastor's wife. For some of the reasons you mentioned, maybe it's to do with age. Maybe they just can't speak, so the pastor's wife don't speak to people, so people end up looking up to other people, so is that okay for people to call someone else, my spiritual mother, when they have, their local pastor's wife there, who is supposed to be their mother?
Yes, it is okay, because personalities differ, and we choose the people that mentor us. We also choose the people that speak into our lives. You don't have to have one mentor. You can have a financial or business mentor, somebody who speaks into your life about your economic status, somebody who will speak to you about your education status, somebody who will speak to you about your spiritual things. And all these things are happening at the same time. There could be somebody who is helping you academically, but they're also spiritual. And then so you decide to say, okay, I'll go and be mentored academically, but since she's also very spiritual, I respect her spiritually. And then you also glean from her her spirituality. That is okay. I don't think people should be forced and should be hard and fast that this person who is your pastor's wife is the final person who must be your spiritual mother.
But is that not an insult on the pastor's wife? How would she feel when she not all of a sudden, but a few people that are in a congregation every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, she hears them calling someone else, oh, my spiritual mother is there. I was talking to my spiritual mother last night and it's not her. How would she feel, and how she should deal with that?
That's where there's need for maturity. The pastor's wife needs to just mature and know that as pastors we don't own people. We don't own people. These are people of God. And these people of God, if they do desire to be mentored by somebody else, love them. Also, just love this person as they are. Let them see the warmth in you and the respect that you have for them and the understanding that you have. Get closer to them, find out who the spiritual mother is, because you care, and or what it is that she's mentoring her in and all that, and get to understand. And you might be able to help a child who is actually going astray by becoming closer with them. Don't feel offended. Don't feel unhappy about it. It's just allow them to be people. They come to your church, they are coming to be ministered to. This is a spiritual this is a mother in the church, is a pastor, and all that. It does not it does not mean that you are going to be the mother or the spiritual counselor or the mentor for everyone who is in your church. Yes, they will respect you and is the mother of the church,
but not as their
but not
spiritual
as their
mother.
spiritual mother.
that is
Unless
deep.
we are struggling to understand the word spiritual mother.
I was just about to come to that question, that what is the meaning of a spiritual mother? Because why I say that because most pastors, male pastors, they are able to draw the crowd and easily become the father figure, and people start calling them, like we say in Zimbabwe, baba, baba, and father, father. And you're calling your pastor father. How can you not now call your pastor's wife mother?
You call a mother, that's okay.
No, as in spiritual mother, like this is my spiritual father. Then this should be my spiritual mother. How does that work? Because honestly, a lot of pastors' wives are offended because of that.
Let me tell you something. Calling is not sexually transmitted. Maybe I need to say that again. Calling is not sexually transmitted. The father being called as a pastor does not automatically mean the mother is called too.
Wow.
So sometimes, if these two people are both called as pastors, it's easier for people to just, receive it easily, like that. They went to Bible school together, they felt called, they got married because they were called, and they're there. Immediately people pick it up, that this is a father, this is a mother, and they flow. But when it's a woman who was just married by a pastor, and she doesn't have the pastoral calling, you will kill people's lives by allowing her to mentor these people where there are more mature people, even in the congregation, who can actually mentor these girls. So why don't we allow the father, the pastor, to be the spiritual father, but then allow the mother to be who she is?
Wow.
Because why force her into a calling that she's not called into? Because it doesn't automatically follow. Many times there are people who come together, they're both called, and that's okay. We say, praise God.
Wow.
But there are those that will come together. When the woman is not called, the husband is called. Or when the wife is called, the husband is not called. You don't expect me to have the men that are under me, because I'm the called woman of God, to force them to have a spiritual father, my husband, who is not called, and then kill them.
Wow.
Why don't I allow them to have a spiritual father from United Methodist Church and still come to church and say, my spiritual father as a man is Mr. So-and-so, but mommy, I'll come to you because this is where I feel I'm fed, and I'm coming to you as the church.
Wow.
But let me tell you what my spiritual father said, because my husband is not called. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So I think it takes maturity.
It does, and that's a whole lot of topic on its own.
It's a different thing altogether.
Wow, that is powerful.
But what
the definition of the spiritual mother, what are people supposed to get from their spiritual mother?
The spiritual mother is somebody who must be at a higher level than you spiritually. Somebody who should have something to give, to put into you. That is where now the problem is. If this pastor's wife is not prayerful, this pastor's wife is not well read in the scriptures, if this pastor's wife is not there spiritually, you can't expect these children to call a spiritual mother.
Yeah.
So it's what matters is how much does this person put into you, the input that this mother puts into you, the feeding, the breastfeeding that they give you, the milk that they give you, the meat that they give you, the feeding. That is what is important. But if they can't feed you, and you are the one who is actually feeding them, half the time they are crying, and you are actually ministering to them, and they are the pastor's wife, what do you do?
Wow, that is amazing. That is great.
And we have people like that.
Yeah. I have seen people like that. I have seen girls that are crying for that mother's touch, but because they are confined in their church and they don't want to disrespect their pastor or the pastor's wife, they would just rather stay there in their misery than to try and talk to someone else who's outside, just to try and keep peace, so that no one will talk about them and say, oh, why are you talking to the pastor's wife next door?
I'll tell you, I've got
I'm
over
here?
60 girls that I'm mentoring in ministry around the world. Some of them are in Australia, some of them are in Netherlands, some of them are in Ireland, all over the world. And what they do, I'm their spiritual mother. They Skype me, they ask me questions, they ask me about ministry and all. And sometimes some of them actually are thwarted in their churches to do ministry. by their own pastors' wives. And I'm helping them to understand and to be able to fit into they go to church every Sunday in Australia. But when they need spiritual feed and spiritual counsel, they Skype me in Zimbabwe. And I have scheduled them on Skype, on Viber, on whatever. And half the time, Wednesday evening, I'm on the phone with 3 people. I'm on the phone and I've, scheduled them over the month. And that's what happened to me. So if these people are being mothered by me and they're in Australia, are you telling me in Australia there are no people there?
So how did you make yourself available? Because some people, they can't approach their pastor's wife.
Some people actually find me on Facebook. Mommy, how are you? Thank you for the messages that you send on Facebook. Can you mentor me? Inbox me. Eventually I give them my number. Eventually they get my Skype number. The next thing, I've got a way of assessing this person is genuine. Talking to them, asking them questions. Give me your background. Give me your life history. Give me what is happening to you. What is the story? What is your past? What is your present? What is your preferred? What is your strategic way forward in your life? I've got 4 things that I ask them, and they give it to me, and I keep interacting. And when I find this person really needs counseling, if I find that her level is supposed to be counseled or mentored by somebody who I've already mentored, I then refer. I say, okay,
that's good.
Look for Juliet. Juliet is on this number. She will help you.
I
call Juliet and say, Mary, there's Juliet here. Juliet is Mary. Please help her. Because at the level that she is, I don't need to start again. I've already taught you that, so pick it up. And then I stay with Juliet. So I've got 62 that I am working with at a very high level. Everybody else who comes and I feel they need a foundational, I throw them to all this. So for these 62, each one is about 5 that they are mentoring for me.
That is
so
good.
You see, it actually goes like that. And when I go to be with the Lord, I know I've left an army of women.
That is right.
Who are powerful, who can be able to stand and be strong. And they're not going to be moved.
Wow.
Maybe even through Skype, I've never seen this person. Maybe through Viber, I've never ever seen this person face to face in life. There are some who come to Zimbabwe who are Zimbabweans, who are all over in the diaspora. They come and see me physically and we see them. But there are some that I've never ever seen.
No, that's amazing.
So it is availing yourself, and it doesn't take too much time. 5 minutes of your day, and you help somebody. 5 minutes of your day.
5 minutes is a lot.
It's a lot of time.
It's a lot to save someone's life. Well, I don't think we're going to take a break today because there's a lot of things to talk about. Let's move on to the relationship between daughters and mother-in-laws. It seems like we're in a generation whereby mother-in-laws are changing. They are moving with the time. Many young ladies are not having too much problems with their in-laws. I don't know if it's because of the distance with most people, especially from different cultures that are not English or, British. But amongst the African cultures, it seems like there is a bit of a change. Talk to us a little bit about your background between, you and your mother-in-law. How was the relationship and what was the foundation like?
The relationship with me and my mother-in-law, she's late now, was initially very tense. Because when we were growing up, we were told that mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws will never get along. So you walk in with that concept. And you thinking, okay, what is she gonna say? What is she gonna do? And all
You're prepared.
You're prepared. But me being a Christian at 15 and getting married at 18, I watched and I said, God, I'm going to love this woman. So the first thing that I did when I met with her, she says to me, now let me tell you, the people that you will not talk to. Baba so all these people don't like me, and these ones don't like that auntie is like this and that. And I laughed. I said, why are you laughing? And they said, you know what? I'm so glad I'm here now because I'm going to make you all friends.
Oh, wow.
I said, how are you going to do it? I said, I'm going to do it. And they laughed about it, went out, got some water from the well and came back. And I said to myself, I'm going to make a difference in this woman's life. It was intentional. So I think the daughter-in-laws need to arrive on the scene intentional.
Wow.
There has to be an intentionality that I'm going to love this woman like my own mother. I'm not going to segregate. I'm not going to make her feel that she's an in-law. I'm going to call her mother-in-love, not in-law. I'm going to love her.
Wow.
I'm going to care for her just like my own mother. So if it comes from the girl, and she starts like that with that understanding, then the mother will resist for a while, just to watch if you're genuine, or if you're going to keep at it, or if you're going to be able to do that long enough. And when she sees that that's you and you're not going to change, then it will. And I just want to encourage the girls not to be tired. Because the mother-in-laws will test you. The mother-in-laws will try you. They'll do things that will just wanting to test you to see if you are genuine. And if you continue to insist and tell yourself, I'm going to be loving. I'm going to love her like my own mother. I'm not going to call her mother-in-law. I'm going to call her mother-in-love. And make sure I love her. And bring her together with everybody. If you find that place in disorder and nobody likes another, bring them together.
Yeah.
Show them that you are there as a unifying factor, not as a distraction. When there is a lot of gossip in there, don't join in. Refuse to be part of the grapevine. And you'll see that bit by bit people will avoid telling you negative and they'll bring positive to you.
No,
so it's something
good.
that I had to work on. Eventually when she died, we were in good books. And we were, every time she would want something, Mabvunza Maikuda, if you asked Maikuda, Kuda's mother, why? Because she knew I was there for her and I would do it for her. I told my husband, you don't send money to your mother, I do. You don't buy your mother clothes, I do. And that impressed her. Because she saw that I took the burden from her son and I started to do everything for her myself. And I think that actually helped build that relationship.
Wow, that is good. You mentioned about being intentional when you get into the family. So what is your main, what is your purpose in your mother-in-law's life, and what is her own purpose? Because I've seen that, especially, back in the day, it seems like all they're waiting for is for you to give her grandchildren, and then she'll love you, love the grandchildren, love you through the grandchildren. So as long as you keep producing, you're good. But apart from that, I don't want anything to do with you. I just want my grandchildren. What is her own purpose in your life, if there is?
Her purpose is being a mother to you, because she's your husband's mother. And I told you before, she's the one who first saw your husband naked, breastfed him, took care of him, kissed him when he was a baby and naked. So there is a bond there that you can break. It is very, very unfair to break that bond. It's important for you to realize that she will be his mother and you'll be his wife. A lot of women mix those things. They want to be mother to their husbands and wife at the same time. They refuse to be wife and leave the mother to be mother. So that is an issue that actually confuses the whole thing. You are a wife to her son. Make sure you take care of her son. And when you do that, she's happy because her son is taken care of. She will love her son as a son, not as a husband. You see? So allow her to love her son.
No, that's powerful.
And when you allow her to love her son, and you'll see when you've got your own son, you know what I'm talking about. For me, I've got 3 sons and a daughter. And these 3 sons, the one is just gotten married, he's going to wed in December.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
And the girl, I'm so close to her, they're not so close with my daughter, because I want her to merge into the family and become a daughter, not a daughter-in-law. Yeah. So I take the 2 of them, Ruarashe and Lynn, and I go with them, and we go and, shopping and things. I'm intentional about it, because I want it to say mama, not Ama.
That's good.
I don't want her to call me mother-in-law. I want to be her mother. And the advantage probably that I have is she's an orphan. Her mother died when she was 7. And she automatically switched and saw her mother in me.
Wow.
And also I'm a spiritual mother with a bishop.
Oh, wow.
So that became easier.
That's a blessing.
But I intentionally made sure that I make her feel she's my daughter. So if the mother-in-laws actually intend to make sure that their daughters are comfortable and they're happy, and they must remove themselves from being wives to their sons and be mothers and allow their daughter-in-laws to be wives, that will go a long way.
Wow. Have you ever seen any difference between those that are in church and the ones that are outside, as in saved and the ones that are not saved? Is there a difference
There is a big difference. There is a lot of difference. You see that there's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of competition and jealousy. There's a lot of garnering for more attention from the mother, and the wife is also needing her own attention, and there's that fight. You say you're going to my mother, I also wanted to go shopping, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you see those that are not saved do not understand it. They still hold on to the old adage that the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law must not get along.
No.
You see the struggle. There are some that are just generally nice, but those are just a few. But you will see that the born again ones, there are meetings that are being done. The women's meetings, a lot of that is being talked about. So you see there's a lot of education in that area. People are being educated to understand and to know that it is important to love your daughter-in-law like your own daughter. So those things are being spoken about. The young daughter-in-laws are also being spoken to in different forums. So you can see that church is playing a big role to bring the two together.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, since we've mentioned church last, I actually wanted to talk about this last because that is like the main relationship that you can have as a daughter. We all know we are daughters of God. That is beyond anything else that you can have. How important is it as a woman to have a very intimate relationship with God, with your God, when everything else, when your mother-in-law is not, is giving you a headache, when your own mother is giving you headache, when your own spiritual mother is doing headache? What about your relationship with God? How intimate does that need to be?
That is very important. There's a book that I wrote, Family Intimacy and Relationship. And when I'm talking about that family intimacy and relationship, I'm not talking only about family intimacy, the family, the physical family. I'm also talking about the family of God intimacy, and I'm also talking about the intimacy between you and God. It is important to have your own relationship. If you look at Matthew actually talks about it and says, two are going to be in the same bed. One is going to go and one is going to remain. Two are going to be in a field, one is going to go and one is going to remain. When you die, God is not going to ask you, whose daughter-in-law are you? Or whose wife were you? Or tell us, which church did you go to? Who was your pastor? No. God is going to say, patience, what did you do for me? So if we realize that our relationship with God is paramount, you must have your own quiet time alone without your husband. You have your own prayer time together as husband and wife, but also have your own prayer time alone, where you can bring issues that are very close to your heart, to your God, as a father.
Yeah.
And I think it is important so that we all realize that you can't have your relationship with God depend on someone else.
That's true.
Depend on your husband because he's a pastor. Depend on your mother-in-law because she's a deaconess. Depend on your mother because she's a pastor. No. God is going to look at you and ask you and say, tell us, what did you do for me? You call you by name and you want to know about you only. He doesn't want to know how many children you had.
Wow.
So many people attach Christianity to relationships on this earth. Say, oh, I've got a husband, so I'm better than that one who is single. I've got a, no. God doesn't look at that. It's good to have relationships. It's good to have a marriage. It's good to have a mother-in-law, a brother-in-law, a father-in-law, pastor, everything. But God is concerned about you and him.
Wow.
What is it that is going on between you and God? How intimate? The more you are intimate with God, the more productive you are.
That's true.
It's just like husband and wife relationship. We are the bride of Christ. If you are not intimate with God, you can't reproduce.
Wow.
So for you to reproduce, you have to be intimate with God.
Wow.
So to have fruit, you have to be intimate with God.
Wow.
A lot of people are not having fruit on earth because they are not intimate with God.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, God's girls, women on a mission. Hope you've been blessed. You're a young girl out there. As long as you're looking forward to get married one day, that means you're looking forward to being a mother, to being a mother-in-law, to being a grandmother. So if you don't know how to handle your relationships, you might not go as far as you'd want to. And the blessings that God might bring your way, you might actually end up losing your blessings because you can't handle the relationships. I encourage you to get a copy of this book, Family, Intimacy and Relationships. It talks, like Bishop said, it talks about different kinds of relationship. The relationship with yourself, with God, with your children, with your husband, with your friends, with your colleagues. Every type of relationship that you can think of, that you probably have, it's inside the book. So I encourage you to get a copy of the book. The details are just below. The details are on the screen below. Get hold of us or get hold of Bishop and get the book. Bishop, just give us a final word to, not to girls this time, but to mothers. There's some mothers that are crying because of issues of their daughters. Every mother wishes their daughters well. And sometimes when you see your daughter go through something and you can't do anything, either because of disability, or you don't have the money, or you don't have the capacity, you just can't do anything. Just encourage a mother out there that just needs, help for their daughter.
What I can say to mothers right now is conception is not an accident. Conception is of God. Children come from God. God does not give us blessings which will bring sorrow to us. He intends us to have a blessing that will not bring sorrow. So what God does is he allows us to conceive that child with an intention. They've got an answer that they are bringing onto this earth. And we need to be able to find that answer. So what we need to do is go before God, to go to the manufacturer, the one who manufactured this child in your womb, and say, God, I don't know how to deal with this machine. She's really giving me problems. I don't know what to do. God, help me. Because I need to know. Give me a manual of how to deal with this girl. And bit by bit, God will start showing you. God will start unveiling what it is that's going on with your daughter and how to deal with her. Or even give you some dreams, or even show you some things, or people who can actually help her. So I think let's not despair. Let's continue to go back to God and ask and say, God, help me. God, help me. Because there are a lot of people who are sleeping with each other, but are not having children. Not because they don't want to, but God has just not blessed them yet. But when God blesses you with your daughter, there is a reason. Go back to him and say, God, what it is. What is it that you gave me this child for? What is it that I've got to do with her? And how can I help her? And God will give you the answer.
Amen. Thank you so much for being with us today, Bishop. God's Girls, Women on a Mission, I hope you've been blessed. Do get in touch with us, and I encourage you, get a copy of this book, Family, Intimacy and Relationships. It will surely bless your life and transform you inside out. Stay tuned and be blessed.